My name is Terry Shima. I was born in Hawaii, the Big Island. I'm 95 years old, going on to 96 very soon. Both my father and my mother were immigrants from Japan. They settled in Hawaii to work in the sugar field because they were told that the opportunities are better than in their homeland. The pay was $1 for a day of 10 hours. It was quite a challenge for them getting settled in Hawaii to try to earn their upkeep and to raise a family. We were called a melting pot in Hawaii. There are a lot of Asian nationalities there, immigrants all, from China, from Korea, the Philippines, and Japan. There were racial distinctions, and it was recognized, but the community lived very well. We thought life was okay. We lived a very peaceful life. When Pearl Harbor occurred, there was mass hysteria in Hawaii against all persons of Japanese ancestry. Immediately, we were viewed as alien, as collaborators and saboteurs for Imperial Japan. And life became very different for us. The first thing that happened to us after the war began was that we were told the Japanese Americans were excluded from the military. We were classified by the draft board as 4C from 4A. 4A was the category for eligible for military duty. And the category for 4C was alien, unfit for military duty. And being categorized alien, unfit for military duty was a severe blow to us. It was in effect, it was tantamount to our being told, you are disowned, we don't want you. The second blow came on February 19, 1942, when President Roosevelt issued Executive Order 9066. And that order authorized the U.S. Army to lock them up. On the West Coast, Lieutenant General John DeWitt decided the solution was to intern the 118,000 ethnic Japanese living on the West Coast. And they were placed in internment camps, 10 internment camps, where they were guarded by U.S. Army sentries on the ground and in the tower by machine guns. In Hawaii, the military governor was Lieutenant General Dallas C. Emmons. General Emmons left Washington with orders to place all Japanese, ethnic Japanese, on the island of Molokai, and also to remove the Japanese from the U.S. military. General Emmons decided that instead of releasing or discharging the Japanese American from the military, 1,432 of them were simply sent in block to Wisconsin for training, and subsequently this unit, which was called the 100th Infantry Battalion, comprised of Japanese American, was sent to Europe for combat. In 1943, the 100th Infantry Battalion, through their exemplary performance in combat, the War Department decided to establish a larger unit. And that was, and issued a call for volunteers. 2,500 volunteers were accepted from Hawaii, and 1,500 were accepted from the mainland, mainly from internment camps. Boys in the internment camps, a number of them who were discharged, volunteered to join the 442nd to serve in Italy. The War Department decided to put the Japanese to test. And the Japanese Americans welcomed that. The press called them the Purple Heart Battalion, and that's because of the number of wounded and those of number of KIAs, those who were killed in action. I was drafted in October of 1944. My brother was in the original 100 Infantry Battalion, and I met him coming back. He was wounded, and so he was returning and to be discharged. I trained in Camp Blanding, Florida, to be a replacement for the 442. The officers were largely Caucasians, and the second lieutenants and a few first lieutenants were Japanese Americans. With the 100, they trained in Camp McCoy, Wisconsin. The white officers had a second duty, and that was to check on the loyalty of the boys. This attitude of hostility, of suspicion, that we Japanese Americans were collaborators of Imperial Japan. We had very few Caucasian friends, and those Caucasian friends who spoke on our behalf, their careers were cut short. There was skepticism. You see, when the 100 was ready for deployment, General Marshall offered the 100 to SHAEF headquarters. That's General Eisenhower's headquarters. But they decided they didn't want Japanese Americans. So General Marshall said he offered it to General Mark Clark, who was head of the Fifth Army in Italy. And General Mark Clark, who knew and had experience dealing with Japanese American, said, I want them. Then the 442nd and the 100 did not disappoint General Clark. So while about 12,000 Japanese Americans served in Europe, there were 4,000 Nisei who served in the Asia-Pacific war zone. They were in the front lines, in the combat lines. Their job was to translate captured documents, to interrogate prisoners, to listen to enemy communication. They also entered caves to persuade Japanese soldiers to surrender. A large number of them served in the first or second wave of every Marine and infantry invasion. And their job was to collect real-time intelligence by translating documents and interrogating prisoners and passing that information real-time to the commander, to the American commander, who used it for his countermeasures, which saved American lives and helped win the war. The day that our troop ship arrived in Leghorn, Italy, was the day that Germany had surrendered. So I did not see combat. However, I was selected to be a member of the Public Relations Office. The job was to work with the local community, the Italian community, because a number of Italian communities wanted to have victory parades and things like that. And the regiment policy was to oblige and to participate in their celebration. So the war over, and the guns now silent, America turned its attention to rebuilding the country. But they were reminded that there was one more issue to resolve, and that issue was the loyalty question of the Japanese Americans. Washington decided to bring home from Europe the 442nd Regimental Combat Team to be reviewed by President Truman. I returned with the unit to serve as to help in the public relations. And so I observed the review by President Truman, and I heard his remarks. On the 15th of July, 1946, the 442nd marched down Constitution Avenue in the rain. It was a rainy morning that day. And the military advisor to the president advised the president to cancel his portion of the day's event. And President Truman said, "Hell no. For what these boys have done, I can stand a little rain," he said. And he reviewed the 442nd at the Ellipse, just on the south side of the White House. And he told the 442nd men, "You fought the enemy abroad, and you fought prejudice,
and you've won. Keep up that fight, and we'll continue to win to make this great republic stand for just what its Constitution says it stands for, the welfare of all the people, all the time."
What Truman's words in effect did was a confirmation to the Japanese Americans that they were loyal. What he did was he removed from the table the stigma of disloyalty that was placed there by President Roosevelt. So the stigma of disloyalty now removed, Japanese Americans began to enter the American mainstream. This button here, the President's Citizenship Medal, and it was awarded to me by President Obama a few years ago. I must say I was very taken aback by this honor, and I'm very proud to have been selected to receive it. And the reason it was presented to me was for community services. I've done discussions in schools to spread the word, if you will, about the experience of the Japanese American during World War II was like, because we feel that it is very important for the American people to know. And if we don't tell the story, it might be forgotten. And we don't want to lose this story. When I received it, I mentioned to President Obama that actually I accept this especially for the 800 Japanese American boys who did not return home, who we left on the battlefield of Italy and France. The lesson learned from the Japanese American experience during World War II is that what happened to one ethnic group must never happen again.